Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
What's up, guys? It's time for another edition of Outlaws and Gunslingers, and we're fresh off of Nowhere Nah. That's episodes ago. That's like 10 episodes ago now.
shit.
We're fresh off of the Bonnie and Clyde saga,
nice.
Part 1 and Part 2, Bonnie and Clyde. We're moving on in the early 30s / Great Depression / Public Enemy #1 era.
Yeah, right. And it's actually Luciano set it up what's happening now, and then these guys are finalizing what's going to happen, and then from here on out, it's going to be the end outcome of what these guys are doing. It's fantastic to watch it, or to go back and see all this from the
How it all played out into
even from the Wild West. I always say that, but seriously, everything from the Wild West all the way on up, it all led onto what's going to happen here, and then what's going to happen in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and even today with the mafia. They got so strong you couldn't kill them, and right now they're pretty strong, but they're not strong enough yet. And we are in the 30s, and this is Public Enemy, where the government was like, we're going to fight these motherfuckers.
See, exactly. We're in the Public Enemy era.
Right, we're going to fight these motherfuckers.
We're at a time.
But there's a problem, though. It was Public Enemy, but nobody didn't dislike them. People were like, no, they
I don't know.
Bonnie
and Clyde, we did see in Part 2 that the public turned against them once they started murdering fucking police officers with families.
I'm thinking of later in time in the 70s and shit. We were like, why are you guys messing with this guy?
Right.
Why are you messing with this gay? Right.
But now we're in an era, the Public Enemy era, where literally the law enforcement, they didn't take no shit. They were tracking down
and plus,
Bonnie and Clyde, John Dillinger, Babyface Nelson.
And plus, back then, law enforcement was like king. So if you took down a cop, there's like, these guys are savages.
Right.
There's no TV.
Right.
There's no nothing.
Well,
there's no.
I mean, it's the 30s. There's
you always
TV.
count on.
There's definitely radio for sure.
TV
for sure,
30s,
there's radio.
But still,
there's TVs in the 30s.
Nah,
it just came out in the 30s.
Nah, I don't think so, bud.
Are you kidding me?
In the 30s, TVs.
In the 30s,
TVs in the 30s.
Are you telling me there's no TVs in the 30s?
If they were, they're in mansions.
No.
In the 30s, the television?
Dude, small ass fucking TVs in the 30s. Are you kidding me?
And you had your fucking mind?
When did TVs first come out?
It's like 19 fucking.
Did TVs?
I'll say like 1953 or something.
When did TV start?
It's definitely in the 50s. Television set. When did television? Right there. 1939. Yeah, that's when they showcased it. That's when they showcased it.
The world's first television stations first started appearing in America in the late 20s and early 30s. So there was 100% TV stations.
That's the stations, not televisions itself.
Well, obviously not a whole lot of households had TVs, but there was TV stations. You know? The first electronic television was invented in 1927. The world's first electronic television was created by a 20-year-old, blah, blah, blah.
Isn't that crazy? 20-year-old.
Between 1926 and 31, mechanical television inventors continued to tweak and test their creations. However, they were all doomed to be obsolete in comparison to the modern electrical televisions. By 1934, all TVs had been converted into the electronic system. Right. So 34, there was 100% TVs.
Yeah, but they weren't.
Understandably, all early television systems transmitted footage in black and white. Color TV, however, was first theorized way back in 1904, something we'll talk about later on in this article. They're saying.
See, they're going way back in this shit here. So
either or, in 1934, people were watching TV 100%.
No,
100%.
No.
Well, you just fucking, we just seen it.
Like, nobody from where we're at right now is watching television in 1934.
The world's first television stations first appeared in America in the late 20s and early 30s. The first mechanical TV station was called W3XK.
We're talking about TVs.
And was created by Charles.
Right there, the first television sets. Go down.
First television sets in America. America's first commercially produced television sets were based on the mechanical television system and made available to the public in September 1928.
Okay.
Wait. They were shown off to the public in 28. It would take until 1938, however, before American electronic television sets were produced and released commercially. So in this era that we're covering with Dillinger and Bonnie and Clyde, there was no
Right.
widely
So it's coming-
watched TV.
it's
It was all
coming in
radio.
1940.
All radio
It's coming in
fucking.
1940, which now actually does make sense. 1940 is about the time where TVs and it's crazy.
All radio telecasts is what we're hearing for this era of the so-called Public Enemy #1.
Think of this.
Early 30s.
Think of this.
End of the Great Depression.
Think of this.
What do you want me to think of?
It took. We'll start from the year 18. Let's just go back a few years. 1840.
Right.
We'll just say 1840 from there on out.
Towns were electric in 1840.
Not electric in 1840.
Fuck yeah, they had lights and all that shit. They had the
1840.
telegraph. Fuck yeah, they had the telegraph.
1840?
Have you not?
No. Nothing came. There was no electricity until like fucking 18 fucking.
When did electricity
It's like 1887 or some shit, dude.
come to America?
Like 1887, I believe it is. 1880s. Yep. 18 fucking 80s.
Thomas and George Westinghouse, I have a TV by them.
All right.
And other inventors began introducing practical electric power system in the 1880s. By the 1920s, most cities and towns in America received electricity from either privately owned or municipal.
Right.
So, 1840s, right? They didn't. Okay, obviously.
So
obviously, I know that.
But now you forget where I was even going with this.
I think you're talking about like the evolution of information or something. 1840s, people didn't know anything besides newspaper. I think that's where you're getting. And then by the 1930s, they had television. I think that's where you're going, right?
No, I wasn't.
Just think about the electric. You're saying like
we're just on another fucking thing after
TV.
that, though.
It was TV.
Right.
And then you said, think about this, 1840s, communication, pretty much, right?
That was way before.
No, communication, what it was in the 20s and the 30s compared to the 1840s. And then that little time period, that's what you're saying. That's that little of a time period.
Right. From 1840 to now, from 1840 until now, 2021, almost 22. Look at what we've done. In how many years? 200.
1840, 100 and 120 years.
180 years.
Yeah, 180 years.
180 years. And for 1800 years...
It was nothing.
Come on. All right. Get the fuck out of here.
Well,
1800 years, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, guess what?
You got to thank old Benjamin Franklin for realizing that metal fucking attracts electricity.
They've been telling me not to put metal on top of my fucking coat hanger and fly it with my bed sheet when my coat hanger is metal.
What are you talking about?
A little kite with the key. You know, I've ever seen that when we were
Wasn't
kids.
a bed sheet.
I know. You know, when we were kids in school, it's the fucking Benjamin fucking Franklin, his little kite.
That's what he did.
He had the key on the top.
It's legitimately what he did.
It's true.
It is.
It is true.
He went out in a lightning storm with a kite with a key, a steel key tied to it.
In the middle of a field, though.
Doesn't matter. It proved that fucking lightning will strike a fucking... How?
It struck the tallest object. And it was there.
But back then, how many fucking tall objects were there? They didn't know about lightning rods.
No,
they didn't know about anything like that.
He's in the middle of a fucking field.
But it doesesn't matter.
Or was he? Was he in, like...
No, he was like literally outside of his shop or fucking whatever in town. He just flew a fucking kite. They didn't have...
He got lucky. That was God saying, hey, guess what? This is what...
But they didn't have lightning rods.
Right.
Like on the top of tall buildings and stuff like that.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. God was
back then, you got to think how many times has a lightning? You think of like great fires in towns. They were all most of them were caused by like lightning storms and storms like that, hitting wood buildings and fucking putting them up in flames.
Right.
Until they invented, hey, lightning will strike the fucking metal and then it'll absorb the fucking the shock.
Right. We'll ground that fucking spark to the ground.
Right.
I'm fucking good.
Nobody knew that until he flew the fucking key into the sky.
That's what I'm saying. That was God saying, hey, all right, you guys are expanding. Here's some more information on how to live. You guys are getting taller in the world.
How would people not know that? Like, you're telling me through the Bronze Age, through the Iron Age, and all that shit before fucking the 1800s or the 1700s.
How many castles got struck by lightning?
How many?
Right.
Nobody observed lightning striking metal. Like that's what it attracted to metal. Nobody saw fucking anything made out of metal that got struck by lightning and was hey, you know that steel fucking jail cell we got out there to hold the fucking the prisoners. It seems to get struck by lightning.
But it's got to be lot. It's got to be super tall to draw the energy. So they didn't have really super tall buildings or anything that was made of metal.
I mean, that's true. Even if you have something metal on the ground,
right,
it's going to strike whatever's higher.
First.
Right.
It's going to hit the fucking tree first.
Right.
That's what it draws itself to.
So how far in the sky was the kite?
It was tall enough than anything that was near him.
Taller than any building around or a tree, I would assume, right?
Really, right.
That would have to be.
And he just got lucky one night. God was like,
1752, by tying a key onto a kite string during a storm, Ben Franklin proved that static electricity and lightning were the same. His correct understanding of the nature of electricity paved the way for the future.
How did he do that? Oh, with the key.
Right.
So he didn't actually get struck by lightning. The static of the lightning.
Well, the key got struck.
Yeah, but it was the static of the lightning strike that made it happen 100 yards away. It was still enough electromagnetic that fucking got the key. Anything metal, like within fucking 5,000 feet or whatever. You know what I mean? Because a lightning strike is fucking big.
Well, the way they do it is saying that the lightning actually struck the key.
No, I don't think that happened. I think
that would have.
A lightning strike is huge. That's why I think lightning strikes happen, because they magnetic everything, dude, that fucking's there for miles.
It is proved that
for miles.
Lightning strikes have a magnetic field on them. So
for miles they do this. So when there's a lightning strike, it's actually fucking recharging our fucking system. It's like every once in a while, God's like, all right, it's time to plug in my phone. Let's have a couple storms here. That's what he's got to do. I got to fucking plug in my phone. You guys are about to get wet for about 45 minutes, but I'm going to be 80% charged.
I get that, but we're going way off on we were just talking about fucking 1930s.
Wait a minute, did we already start the show?
No, we started the show.
Shit.
We're just way off on when electricity started and stuff. Like, holy shit, we're just trying to talk about Machine Gun Kelly over here. I mean, I don't know what the fuck is going on.
We're about to this is fucking Outlaws and Gunslingers episode whatever. What is it?
Just 30 something.
Right. It's episode something of Outlaws and Gunslingers, and we are in the Prohibition era. Actually,
we're not in the Prohibition.
We're past the Prohibition era.
See, that's the thing. I'm glad you said that, because
in between.
This guy that we're covering actually had a lot of action in the actual Prohibition era, because he was a bootlegger.
All right.
But his biggest crime that he's known for came in the early 30s in the Public Enemy era, same as Dillinger.
That's why I love it.
Nelson, all those guys.
Most of these guys are going to bring us back. That's why I always said that Prohibition and Public Enemy and this type of era is all in one. But we needed to separate it, as Dang said, as strictly.
I'm not Dang.
Or
you're Dang, man. What are you doing over here, bro? What are you doing?
As
man?
Bang says over here, we need to separate these guys, because there was a lot of them that were just strictly Prohibition running fucking.
Right. You can't just do.
Right.
But
these guys were doing everything here.
But as you guessed, Machine Gun Kelly is the focus of today's episode.
MGK, baby.
And I guess technically he is a Prohibition era criminal, but like I said, his most famous crime was committed during the Bonnie and Clyde, Dillinger, Babyface Nelson, those years, the early, right after Prohibition, early Public Enemy #1 era. And you know how we do it.
We could have easily done a show with Machine Gun Kelly during Prohibition.
Sure, I mean, for sure. But then we would have got into what we're doing now.
And have nothing.
Right. You know how we do it. Beginning of his life all the way up to his end, whatever that may be.
We'll figure it out.
We're gonna figure it out, because George Kelly Barnes.
That's Machine Gun Kelly.
He was born on July 18th, 1895 in Memphis, Tennessee.
This guy's born 1895. I've always had respect for these type of people. Anybody born from like 1870.
That's the only people you have respect for.
Not respect.
Hey. Right. Anything before 1870. You know, all the Old West people we covered was born way before 1870.
Well, anybody that lived in the era of 1870 to 1930. I mean, they've seen a lot
So you don't
of
have
change.
you don't have respect for
They've seen a lot of change.
you don't have respect for George Washington?
Yeah, but he didn't see a lot of change.
The dude fucking seen a whole country.
Yeah, but he didn't see a lot of
What?
change.
He didn't see a lot of change? This dude literally fucking seen a whole country.
I'd say I have respect
for separate themselves from another country,
Right.
which was the most dominant country in the world, and you're saying he didn't see a lot of change?
I'm not.
What are you talking about?
I'm not going that way with this. I'm talking about seeing a lot of change in society and.
You're still not.
No, these guys had a
You're telling me
plan.
George Washington didn't see a lot of change in society.
They knew what they were
lived.
doing. They had a plan. Like, we need to make our own shit. That's what we're going to do. That's totally fucking different.
I'm confused at what you're getting at. Then you have a lot of respect for people that grew up in the 1800s and seen. Right, so you're getting at
1930s.
You're getting at again. No electricity to electricity. Technology.
I'm saying
no
is,
technology to technology.
All right, but
is that
I'm
what you're
saying
saying?
though,
Is that what you're saying?
But I'm saying is though, yeah. George Washington grew up from the time he was born to the time he died. It was the same world. Candlelit dinners, candlelit mornings, candlelit afternoons.
It was a candlelit life.
Right.
That should be like a George Washington.
You better hope you're not the only child.
That should be a George Washington documentary. George Washington Candlelit Diaries.
Right. That's what I'm saying though.
You know.
But the people that live from like 18.
I mean, I get it. You're right. They grew up in that golden age where electricity was just
everything.
starting. Yes.
They got to see everything.
Right.
They got to witness in less than 100 years everything.
Right.
Everything.
Well, more so, you're thinking of people born in early 1900s to the 60s.
Those guys too.
Early 1900s
Like
to the
this
60s.
guy, 1895.
Early 1900s to the 60s.
Machine Gun Kelly, if he would have lived, he would have.
Early 1900s to the 60s, though, is when like literally the most technical. Well,
yeah,
not the most technologically advanced, but that.
Yeah, but
from the early 1900s to the 60s,
but then
the world took a massive step forward than what they were the previous century.
Yeah, but then you're missing out on the whole after about 1850 is when shit started hitting the fan.
Imagine when cars started driving around streets
Yeah,
and shit.
think about it. 1850, the Civil War was the fight, basically the fight what's going on.
But see, there you are thinking American. And there was more in the world than the Civil War.
And you know what was happening?
Do you know how many wars? Do you know how many wars that were going on in the world at the same time Civil War was going on?
Yeah,
there was revolutions.
Yeah,
there was fucking the French Revolution was going on around the same time.
It's all set it up where we are now.
Can I continue?
You can. What are we gonna do? We're
gonna go back in time again, or are we gonna stick in the 30s?
We're starting the show, right?
Well, we already started the show.
Oh, where you at?
George Kelly Barnes, who was Machine Gun Kelly, was born on July 18th, 1895 in Memphis, Tennessee, to insurance executive George Frederick Barnes Jr. and Elizabeth Kelly Barnes. He was raised in a respectable neighborhood and attended Central High School.
Yeah, but what constitutes as respectable?
Well, not a bunch of murders, I'm assuming.
Right.
In September 1917, we're jumping 12 years. Damn. He's 12 years old. He enrolled at Mississippi A&M. Wait, what? Oh, I'm sorry. We're jumping 22 years.
22 years.
He enrolled at Mississippi A&M, which is later Mississippi State University, at Jackson to study agriculture. Right. Didn't everybody study agriculture in the early 1700s? That's all there was. Right. However, he was a poor student and was in constant trouble with the faculty.
I mean, why wouldn't you be?
I mean,
boys will be boys.
Sets the tone for
boys will be boys.
Sets the tone for the rest of his life, apparently.
Well, in his first semester alone, he was given 31 demerits, and in the first few weeks of the second semester, another 24.
Damn, some motherfucker got 55 demerits in the first 2 semesters alone.
Damn, he was like, all right, you know what, fuck it, I don't care. Mm-hmm. Demerit me all you want. He left college on 27th of January, 1918.
Probably a smart choice on his part.
Well, while he was in college, he met Geneva Ramsey.
Okay.
Also of Memphis, and the two later married in the year of 1919.
Okay.
Afterward, he went to work as a taxi driver, and the couple had 2 children. His wife soon divorced him and would later say that she divorced him, and I quote, because he was running in bad company.
Okay.
In fact, she had to advertise notice to get a divorce because she didn't know where to reach him.
She had to put a fucking ad out in the fucking newspaper to be like, hey, calling George Kelly Barnes.
If you see this, George, I want a divorce.
George Kelly Barnes, please notify him that I am divorcing his ass. Wow.
Wait a minute here.
That's fucked up.
That's fantastic.
That's fucked up. Well, in the meantime, George began to operate as a small-time criminal, obviously, involved in moonshining and bootlegging.
Okay.
Well, after a few arrests, he headed west and adopted the alias of George R. Kelly. Oh, no.
Oh, shit.
George R. Kelly? R. Kellys don't end up no matter who you are.
Right.
Well, he was again arrested for bootlegging in Santa Fe, New Mexico on March 14th, 1927.
Okay, so we got a little pattern going on here.
Well, convicted, he spent a few months in the New Mexico State Penitentiary. After his release, he went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where he was arrested for vagrancy. What is up with these guys with vagrancy?
Right. I mean, they got nowhere to go.
July 24th of that same year, he was arrested again in Tulsa for bootlegging on January 12th, 1928. This guy... You know, you guys have seen it already. Typical fucking rap sheet of a notorious criminal.
Right.
That's all they do is just get arrested.
It's a little petty, though. Petty shit.
And here we see a picture of Machine Gun Kelly and his chick,
Catherine Thorne,
who we're going to hear about now, and what made his name what his name was. So.
Well, Machine Gun Kelly then drifted to Oklahoma City. He hooked up with bootlegger Little Steve Anderson.
Okay, so he's a bootlegger right now.
Right. Well, there, he also met Catherine Thorne, which you just mentioned.
There she
Anderson's
is.
attractive mistress.
Oh, so he took he took the chick from Anderson, huh?
Right. George and Catherine soon developed a romance and ran off together. They're like, we need to go. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
And we will take Anderson Cadillac.
Well, it's
allegedly.
Allegedly in Anderson's Cadillac. Right.
That's fucked up.
Well, Catherine, who had been married several times to this point, was also involved in bootlegging and had a record of her own, including prostitution and theft.
So this bitch is the fucking, she's promiscuous anyway, right? Is that what you
Promiscuous,
want to say?
yeah.
Right. I'd say that.
She's like a Bonnie in her own right, right?
Right. Right.
Well, she was said to have been a tough woman who often frequented speakeasies and could drink liquor like water, quote unquote.
I miss Billy the Kid. Oh,
what does that have to do with this?
Oh, Catherine and Bonnie. I miss Bonnie the little girl.
She frequented speakeasies and could drink liquor like water. She also ran.
Drinking liquor like water. Water was tough to drink back then, too.
Right. I think liquor would be more easy to drink back then. So.
Right.
And she also ran with a crowd of other tough women. So they had like a crowd of, there was like a gang of women like, hey, see? Like they had their little handkerchiefs tied around their fucking head as headbands.
Yeah, I get it.
Don't mess with us.
Right.
Woman beaters. Right. Well, it was Catherine who is said to have bought Kelly his first Thompson submachine gun, from which he earned the nickname Machine Gun Kelly.
Oh, from Kathy.
Yeah.
Kathy's Machine Gun Kelly.
Right. He became so proficient with the gun that he could write his name in lead and knock walnuts off a fence at 25 paces.
I guarantee you that's what this guy did all fucking day, because he was like, this is badass.
Well, rumors is that he was never a gun guy. And she bought him it and convinced him, hey, babe, you need to go out in the woods and practice with this because you're going to need it someday.
Right.
So
trust me, if you're with me,
right,
you're going to need this shit someday.
Shooting walnuts off a fence at 25 paces. That's pretty fucking... And with a submachine gun.
With a submachine gun. That's fantastic.
That is fucking great.
That is fucking good.
Wow.
13th January, 1928. Federal prohibition agents caught Kelly. He was smuggling liquor onto Indian reservations, and Kelly was tried in a federal court in the city of Tulsa in the state of Oklahoma, and he sentenced to 3 years.
Yes, he was.
Leavenworth Penitentiary.
Everybody knows what Leavenworth is.
Everybody knows what Leavenworth is,
especially back in the day. Leavenworth was the spot. Alcatraz of the time.
The Gitmo.
Well, I don't know about Gitmo.
Same thing.
That's a little extreme.
It was here that he made his first real connections with the criminal underworld.
Okay, so now here we go.
George Young situation going on here, right?
Right. He's got, what did he say? He went in there with a bachelor in weed and came out with a doctorate in cocaine. Yeah.
This motherfucker came out bachelor in horse fucking.
Bachelor in
bank robber and came out with a fucking doctor.
Well, at this time, he was only what?
Oh, he
was bootlegging. He went into the bachelor bootlegging and came out with a doctorate of bank robbing and right.
Good stuff. Well, anyway, this is in Tulsa. He's in Leavenworth.
Well, he went to Kansas in the Leavenworth Penitentiary.
He went to Leavenworth in Kansas. It was here that he made his first real connections with the criminal underworld.
Yes, he did.
Said that already.
Yes, he did.
Such as Texas banker Charlie Harmon.
Well, he wasn't a banker.
Oh, well, I guess he was. Right?
I guess.
I'm in the banking business. Texas bank robber Charlie Harmon.
Okay.
Frank Jelly Nash.
Okay.
Who was serving time for train robbery.
Okay, so we got a bank robber and a train robber.
All right. Francis Keating and Thomas Holden, who are also in prison for train robbery.
So he's got 3 train robbers and a bank robber fucking mentoring him pretty much.
Mentoring right now. He's like...
And that's what we're going to see here, because on February 28, 1930, which is 2 years after he went to prison, Keating and Holden escaped prison and fled to Minneapolis, Minnesota. Oh. That same year, Kelly and Charlie Harmon were released and joined Keating and Holden. So now these 4 are fucking together. They're great. Also making her way north was Catherine Thorne, and she and George Kelly were married in Minneapolis in September of 1930. Her 8th husband at the time. I don't know if it's her 8th, but they said several times.
That was a lot.
Right.
Well, the 4 men, along with several others, including Frank Jelly Nash, Harvey Bailey, all became part of the Keating-Holden gang.
Oh, the Keating-Holden gang.
Everybody knows about the Keating-Holden gang. The gang then began a spree of robberies. They first robbed a bank in William, Minnesota, 15th of July in the year of 1930.
Okay.
Guess what they got away with?
They
got away with $70,000.
This is becoming very Old West, Wild West-esque stories now.
Yeah, but they got away with $70,000 though.
$70,000, which is probably equivalent to about $1 million nowadays.
After a dispute led by Vern Miller, 3 of the gang members, Mike Ruzick, Frank Wenny Coleman, and Samuel Sammy Stein, were found shot to death.
Oh, no.
They shot dead at the White Bear Lake. The gang then robbed a bank in Lincoln, Nebraska, 9th of September, year 1930, making off with $4 million.
Whoa.
These guys...
$4 million in 1930?
This is by far the biggest
fucking bank robbery we've ever seen so far on this show.
Equivalent to about $16 million today, probably more.
Way more than that, dude. Yeah. Way more than that. Probably $50 million.
Right. Wow.
That's fucking crazy.
These greedy motherfuckers, they're like,
well, guess what they did after that?
We're going to Nebraska, Minnesota, Wisconsin, or we're just going to travel around. Let's just fucking rob banks. Right. And they did it.
And they fucking did.
Wow.
Well, unfortunately for Harmon, he would be killed on November 19th, 1931, following a $100,000 bank robbery with Holden and Keating at Menominee.
These motherfuckers got a $4 million fucking job.
Payout, dude. They got a $4 million payout and then fucking...
going to do a $100,000 bank job. Right. Come on.
Hey, man, you got to get all you can get, apparently.
Yeah.
But he was killed in that bank robbery November 19th, 1931, with Holden and Keating at Menominee, Wisconsin.
Oh, no.
Francis Keating and Thomas Holden joined with the Alvin Carpus Barker gang to rob a bank in Fort Scott, Kansas on June 17, 1932. Keating and Holden were arrested a month later after that.
Shit.
So Machine Gun Kelly don't have his boys no more.
No.
Here we see a
$1,200 reward.
$1,200 reward for Kate Barker, Arthur Doc Barker, Fred Barker, and we're going to read about these guys here coming up.
Right. Well, Kelly participated in some of the robberies and at other times lived with his wife, Catherine, in Fort Worth, Texas. He's like, not this one, guys.
They're like, what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to live with my wife.
Right, just for a
I'll live with my wife now, and then I'll come on the next one, okay?
Right. His list of underworld associates grew as he made his way from Texas to Kansas City. Then he went to Chicago. Then he went to Minneapolis. He became acquainted with members of the Kid Can Syndicate in Minneapolis, with Chicago mobsters, also with Alvin Carpus and the Barkers.
This dude had fucking affiliates everywhere,
all
dude.
from
in the Midwest.
All everywhere.
The Midwest, it was everywhere. Anywhere, any state he went in the Midwest, he was fucking. He knew somebody.
Midwest down in Missouri. I mean, that's
still Missouri's Midwest, pretty much.
South though. His accomplices on various crimes included Eddie Bentz, Eddie Dull, and Albert Bates.
So this guy's all over.
All over.
This guy all over. Well, he didn't just stop at robbing banks and bootlegging because which he would become most famous for. his first venture into this thing that he would become most famous for.
What was that?
His first venture into kidnapping occurred.
Kidnapping
occurred at South Bend, Indiana on January 27, 1932, when Howard Wolverton, a local manufacturer and banker's son, was driving home from a theater with his wife. They were forced off the road by another car. Well, 2 gunmen then entered the car, and Howard Wolverton was ordered to drive out of town.
Okay.
Following the 2 gunmen was another vehicle. 2 miles outside of the city, one of the gunmen took Wolverton back to the vehicle that had followed and left his wife, Florence, with a note demanding $50,000 ransom.
Oh. Well, those kidnappers, they were George Kelly and Eddie Dow.
Of course they were.
After driving a blindfolded Wolverton around northern Indiana for 2 days, the victim finally convinced his kidnappers he was unable to pay the ransom. He was released on the outskirts of Michigan City.
Okay, that's in Illinois.
On his promise to raise the money later, he was like, I'll raise the fucking money. The Wolverton later received threatening letters and phone calls demanding the money. He ignored those.
Oh, no, he's got his girl.
Right.
They got their girl, and he's still ignoring them.
Right.
Wow. Well, Kelly then reverted back to bank robbery.
What happened with the chick?
He's like, this thing ain't going nowhere.
Did just let her go?
I guess so. I don't know.
What?
Well, he then reverted back to bank robbery. On September 21st, 1932, Kelly, along with Albert Bates and Edward Bentz, robbed the First Trust and Savings Bank at Colfax, Washington, of $77,000.
They're doing petty fucking jobs.
Well, it's not petty. $77,000.
$4 million.
Well, warrants were issued for the trio, and Kelly's home in Fort Worth was raided in November, but no one was at home at the time.
Eddie Bentz was arrested in Dallas in the post office. He admitted to knowing Kelly and Bates, but he was like, I didn't fucking participate in that Colfax robbery. Get the fuck out of here.
No, you're talking about you got the wrong guy.
Right. However,
he
told the police that Kelly and Bates often hid on a Texas farm but didn't know the location. Bentz was released on bond and later fled.
Of course
obviously.
He did. Of course he did. Well, later that year, in November 30th, 1932.
I just want to say November 30th is probably one of the best days ever.
Well, it's probably
in
the worst
world.
ever, actually.
Besides December 25th, it's probably the second best day.
November 30th, 1983 was probably the worst day that ever happened in fucking the history of the world, to be honest with you. But hey, we'll go there. We'll get to the 80s soon enough. But
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But on November 30th, 1932, Kelly, Bates, Eddie Dow, and another man robbed the Citizens State Bank at Tupelo, Mississippi, of $38,000.
What the fuck?
And they cracked a beer afterwards.
Right.
Kelly and other criminals were also linked to bank robberies in Denton and Blue Ridge, Texas at this time. These dudes are everywhere.
There's nickel and dime.
They're like, I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. Right. I went to Minnesota, Missouri, Texas, and Illinois, and Leavenworth, and they did stuff.
Well, anyway, next, George Kelly, along with his wife Catherine and fellow outlaw Albert L. Bates, they hatched a plan to kidnap wealthy Oklahoma oil man Charles F. Urschel.
Yes, this is where he fucked up.
This will become Machine Gun Kelly's most famous crime. It would also end his fucking whole career. Criminal.
Yes,
anything.
This is the crime I was talking about that he's famous for in this era. That's why he wasn't included in our Prohibition era.
This is where he fucking bit the dust.
Oklahoma oil man Charles F. Urschel. This oil man's worth millions upon millions of dollars. Probably one of the most famous men in the region or in the country at this time. Richest men in the country.
Right.
Well, at 11:15 p.m. on Saturday, July 22nd, 1933, Mr. and Mrs. Charles F. Urschel were playing bridge with their friends, Mr. and Mrs. Walter R. Jarrett. The women aren't even important. They don't even get names.
No.
On a screened porch of the Urschel residence at Oklahoma City.
Okay.
2 men, one armed with a machine gun and the other with a pistol, opened the screen door and inquired which of the 2 men was Mr. Urschel. So they busted in.
Right, who's who?
Which one's... Who's Charles? We want to know who Charles is. Tell us who Charles is.
Right.
And the women are screaming like, shut the fuck up.
Right.
Shut the fuck up.
No one's saying anything. Well, these guys are like, all right, you guys don't want to fucking say anything? We'll take you both. After warning the women against calling for help, they marched Urschel and Jarrett to the car and drove away rapidly.
They were like, skirt.
Mrs. Urschel immediately telephoned the FBI.
Of course she did.
She had
the FBI on fucking speed dial.
Wow. And then special agents were sent to Oklahoma City, where An extensive investigation commenced. So, yeah. Wow.
She was like, immediately,
Right.
FBI. What's the number of the FBI?
Right. She's like, oh, don't worry, I got that shit.
I got that shit right in my...
that shit.
I tucked it in my bra.
Right.
Well, in the meantime, the victims had been driven to a point about 12 miles northeast of the city, and after the captives were identified, Jarrett was released.
Oh.
At about 1 a.m. Sunday, July 23rd, 1933, Jarrett made his way back to the Urschel residence.
Oh.
So they still had Urschel, but Jarrett, damn, good for them. Good for them
They
for
figure
actually
out-
releasing Jarrett. You know,
right.
they only wanted the guy.
Right. Well, 7 days elapsed before word was received from the kidnappers. Kelly and his gang wanted $200,000 for
They
the
just
oil
made it.
tycoon.
Was that $4 million? Was that $4 million a typo?
It had to, Ben.
There's no way they netted $4 million.
Yeah, and they only want $200,000
Right.
for this guy.
Right. What the fuck happened to the $4 million?
Right. Well, supposedly they only wanted $200,000 for the oil tycoon and set up an elaborate system for the handling of their captive and the delivery of the ransom.
As most do, I would assume, right?
The money was to be delivered to a hotel in Kansas City on the 30th of July, which it was. The next day, kidnappers let Urschel go.
Okay.
Urschel arrived home exhausted at about 11:30 p.m. on the 31st of July.
Okay, so he came back home.
So everything worked out. They got their money.
But
However,
this is where it gets good. He was unharmed, and although blindfolded some of the time, he was able to provide a number of clues to authorities. From his descriptions, the FBI determined that he was held for 2 days in 2 homes near Paradise, Texas. During this time, Urschel heard the voices of 2 men, one older and one younger, and a woman, as well as those of his captors. So there was his 2 captors,
Bunch,
a
yeah.
woman, and 2 other people.
right.
This dude is pretty smart.
Yeah, I mean,
He's like, I'm being aware of everything. Is that what they say, though?
right.
When
You're
one of your senses go, the others heighten a little bit. So
I mean,
if he was blindfolded,
Imagine-
most of the time, it's obvious that his hearing would have to adapt to
Well,
that.
imagine you being
Right.
blindfolded and tied to a chair.
Right.
You're gonna fucking use everything you have.
You're gonna be fucking
Your hearing is
hearing
gonna
as
be,
much as
right.
you can, right?
Your hearing is gonna
Right.
be
You
your
would think
best,
so.
right? Wow. Well, no effort was made by the Bureau to apprehend the kidnappers until after release of Urschel. An extensive investigation was being conducted.
Of course.
So they're like, all right, we're gonna investigate this shit
Right.
extensively.
Extensively, right? Before it was just like, yeah, you know, we got other things on our plate, but you're back now, so
We're
we're going to do a pretty extensive investigation here, yeah.
Well, as early of July 24, 2 days after Urschel was kidnapped, information was obtained indicating the probability that George R.
Okay.
and Catherine Thorne Kelly were involved in this very crime. They're like, we got them. It's George and Catherine. It's Machine Gun and Caddy.
Right.
Consequently,
They're like, you know, she gave him his first Tommy gun, right?
right,
They're like, yeah, I know. That's why they call him Machine Gun Kelly, you know?
right.
Right.
Consequently,
Consequently?
an exhaustive investigation was
Oh,
commenced.
not only was it extensive, but it was also exhaustive.
Right.
So
right.
turning no stones.
Right.
Wait,
We
they're
wanna-
leaving no stones
yeah,
unturned.
unturned, and we want to find out where the whereabouts of
Right.
these individuals has been.
Right.
That's what they promised.
So that's what they're doing here. Well, the agents quickly determined.
Oh shit!
So
After-
it was
wasn't exhausted
extensive.
at all.
It was extensive, exhausted,
But quickly.
and ended up
And
quickly.
quickly.
They determined that the Kellys enjoyed many luxuries, including high-powered automobiles and expensive jewelry, without any visible means of support. Well, we know
Okay.
what their support was.
Right.
Well, after Urschel was debriefed, the Bureau's activities centered on locating the houses in which Urschel was held and bringing about the apprehension and conviction of the kidnappers. Okay, so what's the conclusion they came
Right.
to?
Well, the Bureau soon discovered that Robert G. Shannon
Okay,
and his wife, Ora L. Shannon,
all right.
Catherine Kelly's mother, they lived near Paradise, Texas. So they're like, all right, these guys live by
So
Paradise.
Ora was Catherine Kelly's mother.
All right. So like all these guys live by Paradise. It was also determined that Robert Shannon's son, Armand Shannon, lived on a ranch about 1.5 miles from of his father.
Okay.
So we got everybody nearby, and now it's starting to make sense.
Right. Well, after this information was obtained, the Shannon residence was raided in the early morning of August 12th, 1933. Arrested was Harvey J. Bailey, a notorious criminal and gunman who had escaped from the Kansas State Penitentiary at Lansing, Kansas on May 30th, 1933. Robert, Ora, and Armin Shannon were also taken into custody.
I mean, this is more of this stupidity. It's like, you guys don't know. I mean, come on. You can't put 2 and 2 together.
Did they not
care? They thought they were...
Thank you for finishing my... We're so closely knitted that he finishes my sentences.
I mean, come on.
Hey, finish this one. Finish this one.
Yeah, fuck you.
Hey.
Fuck off.
That's good enough, I guess. But yeah, so Robert, Ora, and Armin, who are clearly family members of Catherine... Why would they go there? I don't know. Why would they go to their fucking family members' houses? It doesn't make sense at all. Idiots. Man, it just proves that these cops, these law enforcement, were way smarter than these gangsters in the end.
All right, we gave too much credit to police to what we got now.
Right.
Harvey Bailey was discovered with a machine gun, 2 automatic pistols.
Oh, damn.
$1,100 in cash.
Okay.
The FBI soon determined that $700 of the money found on Bailey was used in the payment of ransom for Urschel's release, and that the machine gun had been purchased at Fort Worth, Texas by, you guessed it, Catherine.
She loved purchasing her guns, apparently. Well, Charles Urschel was then able to identify the 2 houses as those in which he had been held. How could he identify them if he'd been blindfolded?
They're probably talking inside.
He also identified the Shannons as the people who had stood guard over him. After the Shannons were questioned thoroughly, they admitted that Urschel had been held at their residences and that he had been kidnapped by George Kelly and Albert L. Bates.
Oh, shit.
So they flipped. Flippers. They're fucking flippers.
Albert Bates, a hardened criminal with a lengthy criminal record, taken into custody in Denver, August 12th, 1933. Just on a local charge for, drunken disorderly or some shit.
Some vagrancy.
Right.
Probably,
vagrancy.
Vagrancy.
At the time of his arrest, he had in his possession $660.
Okay.
Later identified by borough agents as part of the Urschel ransom money. Oh. So they take serial numbers up.
So they had marked numbers. The serial numbers of the ransom bills were found to have been circulated to banks throughout the United States, many of which were located in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay.
The bills were traced, and several money changers, quote unquote, were arrested.
So they're able to fucking put a blanket around where this shit's happening and identify everybody involved.
So they're saying these guys went and changed their money in to the banks because they probably knew it was marked. So they were trying to change the money in for other money.
Right.
And then they discovered them at the banks, and then several money changers, quote unquote, from the banks were arrested after that. Like, hey, you guys knew what you were doing.
Of course they did.
You guys were exchanging illegal bills here.
Right.
This just starting to unravel altogether, isn't it?
Altogether.
Oh, wow.
Wow. 23rd of August, 1933. All of those that had already been arrested, plus George and Catherine, were indicted in Oklahoma City.
Okay, so George is like, indicted! Catherine's like, just calm down, George.
No, we're indicted! No. And other guys are like, indicted. Yes, indicted! Never, and she's like, no, calm the fuck down. It's a conspiracy. All right.
It was a conspiracy.
Right. They're going to charge on conspiracy to kidnap Charles F. Urschel.
Okay. So now the old charge of kidnapping.
On Urschel.
Right. On September 19th, Charles Urschel received a blood-curdling letter from Chicago.
Oh, no.
Now, bear with me, guys.
Oh, no.
I'm going to clear my throat.
So, Charles Urschel, the victim, right?
The victim. The kidnappee.
The kidnappee is receiving a blood-curdling letter from Chicago.
Curdling letter from Chicago.
What kind of Chicago? Is it the news or a person from Chicago?
It's from the city of Chicago.
Oh, it's from the city of Chicago?
Bear with me because this is a long letter.
Okay, and I quote.
Just a few lines to let you know that I'm getting my plans made to destroy your so-called mansion and you and your family immediately after this trial. And young fellow, I guess you've begun to realize your serious mistake. Are you ignorant enough to think the government can guard you forever?
Are you?
I gave you credit for more sense than that, and I figured you thought too much of your family to jeopardize them as you have.
He's wrong.
But if you don't look out for them, why should we?
Right.
I dislike hurting the innocent, but I told you exactly what would happen, and you can bet $200,000 more everything I said will be true. You are living on borrowed time now.
Right.
You know that the Shannon family are victims of circumstances the same as you was. You don't seem to mind prosecuting the innocent, neither will I have conscious qualms over brutally murdering your family.
Oh.
The Shannons have put the heat on, but I don't desire to see them prosecuted as they are innocent, and I have a much better method of settling with them. As far as the guilty being punished, you would probably have lived the rest of your life in peace had you tried only the guilty, but if the Shannons are convicted, look out, and God help you, for he is the only one that will be able to do you any good. In the event of my arrest, I've already formed an outfit to take care of and destroy you and yours, the same as if I was there. I'm spending your money to have you and your family killed. Nice, eh?
Uh-huh.
You are bucking people who have cash, planes, bombs, and unlimited connection both here and abroad. I have friends in Oklahoma City that know every move and every plan you make, and you are still too dumb to figure out the finger man there.
Oh, so he's like, you dumb son of a bitch.
If my brain was no larger than yours, the government would have had me long ago. As it is, I am drinking good beer and will get to see you and your family like I should have left you at first, stone dead.
So basically saying he's living
a good life, and
Right.
he should have fucking killed you long ago.
Right.
I don't worry about Bates and Bailey. They will be out for the ceremonies, your slaughter. Now say, it's up to you. If the Shannons are convicted, you can get another rich wife in hell, because that will be the only place you can use one.
All right.
Adios, smart one. Your worst enemy. G.E.O.R. Kelly.
George Kelly.
I will put my fingerprints below so you can't say some crank wrote this.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
That is a blood-curdling letter.
is.
This dude's like, you better back the fuck off because
Right.
I will fucking have your whole family killed.
Right.
This dude's writing this from prison like he wouldn't get caught writing this, first of all. The fuck are you doing, dude?
Right. 30 September, the jury returned a verdict of guilty against Robert G.
And they did it anyways.
Guilty against Robert G. Shannon, Ora L. Shannon, Armand Shannon, Elba L. Bates, Harvey J. Bailey, Clifford Skelly, and Barney Berman.
I'm Barney Berman.
7th October 1933, Harvey J. Bailey, Elbert L. Bates, R.G. Shannon, and R.L. Shannon were each sentenced to life in prison. Armand Shannon, 10 years probation.
Oh, good for him.
Right.
Got out.
Edward Barney Berman and Clifford Skelly were each sentenced to serve 5 years.
Okay, so, that letter backfired on old Machine Gun, huh?
Sure fuck dead.
Well, in the meantime, the Kellys were still at large while this is all going on. They, too, were tracked down and arrested in Memphis, Tennessee on September 26, 1933. They were returned to Oklahoma City and were convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment on October 12, 1933.
Wow. So you got both husband and wife.
Gone. Bye. At least they didn't get ambushed and
Murdered.
37 fucking bullets
Right.
pumped into them.
Several other people were charged with harboring a fugitive. When the investigation and trials were complete, an astounding 21 people were convicted of various crimes with the sentences including 6
life sentences.
And other sentences totaling 58 years, 2 months, and 3 days. So these guys got put away. They got made example of.
6 life sentences,
Right.
58 years for one, 2 months for one, 3 days for another one.
Right. These guys got made example of.
I would say, right?
I would say.
Well, George Machine Gun Kelly was initially sent to the federal penitentiary in Leavenworth, Kansas. Again.
Right.
In August 1934, Kelly was transferred to Alcatraz after making threats to free himself and his wife from prison in time for the Christmas holidays.
Hey.
When he arrived at Alcatraz on September 4th, 1934, he was among the first groups of prisoners to be incarcerated there.
No
so he
shit.
pretty much opened up
Alcatraz.
He pretty much opened up Alcatraz, huh?
Nice for Machine Gun
Wonder
Kelly.
if he knew the Birdman.
Right.
Isn't that a thing? Didn't the Birdman know?
Alcatraz, yeah.
Didn't the Birdman know?
Machine Gun
Oh,
Kelly.
no, it was Capone.
Yeah. 1951, he was returned to the federal penitentiary in Leavenworth. They're like, all right, enough time over here. You need to come back to Leavenworth. Where he died of a heart attack on his 59th birthday.
Oh, there it is.
On his 59th birthday.
There it is.
July 18th, 1954.
There it is.
He was buried in Cottondale Cemetery in Cottondale, Wise County, Texas.
All right. Well, on the flip side of that, Catherine Kelly was released from prison in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1958.
Wow.
Her mother, Ora Shannon, was released the same year. So mommy and daughter got released.
Mommy's still alive.
Right.
Wow.
Upon their release, the two lived quietly in Oklahoma City. Well, later her mother was institutionalized at the Oklahoma County home and hospital in Oklahoma City, and Catherine was given a job there as a bookkeeper.
Oh, damn.
Ora Shannon died in 1980 at the age of 19, or at the age of 92.
This is a long life.
Catherine Kelly died at the age of 81 in 1985. Both women were buried at the Tecumseh Cemetery near Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So yeah, they lived. I mean, they lived their lives.
Her daughter only lived 5 years after her mother.
Here we see both of them getting released from prison.
They look exactly the same.
You wouldn't even see who was who. That's what I was saying. They look exactly the same. If I had to guess, that's the mama.
Obviously.
That's Ora. That's Catherine.
I mean,
and they're both old-ass women.
If you had to guess.
Right. Well, Ora and Catherine, so I'm guessing, right?
Right. Robert Boss Shannon was pardoned by President Roosevelt in 1944, owing to ill health.
What?
He returned to Paradise, Texas, and he died in a Bridgeport, Texas hospital, 25th December, 1956.
Christmas Day, that was his present. Go see Satan.
Right.
Albert Bates, he died at Alcatraz on July 4th, 1948. Harvey Bailey was paroled in 1961, but was rearrested by Kansas authorities who still wanted him for his 1933 prison break. Damn, this motherfucker walked out of prison and was instantly met by Kansas fucking guys and was like, nah, you're going back to prison. Well, he was eventually paroled from the Kansas penitentiary in 1965. It's only 4 more years.
Right.
And spent his last years in Joplin, Missouri, working as a cabinet maker. Well, look at this dude. He's making a good life.
Right.
Well, he died on March 1st, 1979 at the ripe old age of 91.
Wow.
These guys are making out fucking great so far, right?
Thomas Holden, released Alcatraz, 1948.
Okay.
The next year, murdered his wife and her 2 brothers.
Holden! Thomas! You were supposed to... Come on, you were supposed to continue.
We had a good thing going on here.
What the hell, man?
We had a good thing going on.
You were supposed to live till 85 at least.
Right. Well, anyway, in 1948, the next year, in 1949, he murdered his wife.
Oh, no.
Her 2 brothers.
And her 2 brothers.
In a drunken brawl in Chicago. He was subsequently captured in Beaverton, Oregon, and spent his remaining years in the state penitentiary.
Oh, fucking Thomas.
In Joliet, Illinois.
Thomas. Well, Francis Keaton reportedly lived peacefully in the years following his release from Alcatraz and is said to have died in Minneapolis, Minnesota in 1978.
Around 60-something.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
80.
He did it. He did it.
Well, today, Machine Gun Kelly is remembered along with the likes of Pretty Boy Floyd.
Yes, he is.
Babyface Nelson.
Yep.
Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow.
Uh-huh.
They are all regarded as one of the most famous criminals that made up the Midwest crime wave in the early 1930s.
Which is exactly where we are in this time frame of Outlaws and Gunslingers.
Exactly.
So there you have it. You know that we're going to cover Babyface Nelson, Pretty Boy Floyd, John Dillinger. I don't know why he wasn't mentioned in there.
A couple other guys were there.
Machine Gun Kelly, we could have easily, like I said at the beginning, we could have easily covered him as a Prohibition era. But as you can see, most of the good shit happened. Most of the good shit happened after Prohibition.
Right.
So that's Machine Gun Kelly. I couldn't think of a better episode to follow up Bonnie and Clyde with than Machine Gun Kelly.
That's actually good.
A bunch of shit happened with this guy, dude.
No, because it does work. Because they're doing their crimes after. I mean, they did their little petty shit.
They did the little petty shit.
With the Prohibition.
He served his time with Prohibition.
Right.
He did time for bootlegging and all that stuff. Right.
When he came out, he actually adapted to what's going on and fucking was like, all right, this is what we're doing now. It's not about alcohol. It's about this.
Right. And there you have it, folks. That's Machine Gun Kelly from his life being born all the way up until
his death,
as well as the outcome of all of his associates and all the people involved in his story.
Right, and there's more. There's people that we're going to cover that
we got Babyface Nelson, we got Pretty Boy Floyd, we got John Dillinger, we got. That's just the famous guys. We got loads of not so famous people in this same era coming up. You already know how we do it on Outlaws and Gunslingers.
That probably did more gruesome crimes than these guys.
Well, we'll see coming up in the coming weeks.
Oh, it's gonna be nice. We got a good at least 3 months of Public Enemy
era
Right.
Great. That's just Public Enemy era. That's just till 1935.
From 35 to 40.
And then we got 35 to 40 coming up. Then we got 40s, 50s, Greaser. Oh, dude, we got so much fucking shit before we actually get to the Mafia, which is going to be our
70s
bread and butter, which is
70s,
a year's worth of fucking shit.
That's way.
Dude, I mean,
it's super.
You guys got to stick around with us because we got so much shit coming up.
What we're doing right now is we're fucking telling a story, and we're leading you up to the climax. And the problem is, this is the type of story that has climaxes within.
Yeah, there's so much shit.
There's climaxes in each era.
There's so much shit going on at the same time.
Right.
That we're trying to cover it one category at a time.
Right,
so these are the like we did Prohibition. These are just Prohibition fucking people.
Right.
But we have, when we cover the Mafia, we'll be going back to the 20s and 30s to the people that were in the Mafia.
We missed out on at least another 50 other people that has nothing pertaining to what we're doing. Like the fucking
but they don't have episode worthy stories.
They do. You got the serial.
They don't.
Killers.
That's what I'm saying.
You got your serial killers. You got your fucking.
But we're not doing serial killers.
I'm saying the other stuff.
We're not doing serial killers.
Right, or other stuff is just not there.
Oh, I mean, there's plenty of other fucking crimes and notorious crimes being committed at the same time as we're doing these.
Right.
But that's not the show. It's Outlaws and Gunslingers, son.
I'm saying Outlaws and Gunslingers. When we say Outlaws and Gunslingers, I mean anybody that's an outlaw.
You know it, right?
And they sling
gangs and criminals and all that shit. Not serial killers. We can do a whole separate fucking thing on serial killers if you know.
Right.
If you want that, then email us at bangdangpodcast@gmail.com and say, hey guys, do a serial killer fucking spinoff. We'll do it. We'll do it.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
We'll do it.
Spoiler alert. A certain favorite co-host of you guys.
Spoiler alert. Dang's gonna do that by himself. So
I would
look for Dang's look for Dang's serial killer spinoff show.
Myself. It'll be a certain co-host.
Look for Dang's serial killer spinoff show there.
You're not gonna be in that?
Probably not.
You're not gonna be in that?
No. Got enough stuff on my plate trying to come up with every episode of this. Like I want to do that.
Fuck yeah, you do.
We'll be back next week.
I'll bring you in as a guest.
We'll be back. We can do every special. We can do special guests like every once a month.
Every week.
Well, we'll be back next week for probably.
We ain't doing any of these guys next week, so it's gonna be a new guy.
Yeah, we'll find somebody, but
we're not doing any of these guys.
Other than that, if you guys enjoyed any of our back and forth banter that we did, especially at the beginning, that we went through so much. Weird ass back and forth banter.
Is the show going to be on here?
Of course it is.
Oh, nice.
We went through so much weird back and forth banter like that. If you guys enjoyed that, you go check us out at the Bang and Dang Show. Just search that, and crack a beer while you're doing it. Search that wherever you get your.
As best we can, we fact checked ourselves. Whatever we say, we look that shit up. We're not spewing fucking lies. And if one of us are lying, we fucking figure it out, and then we get the real story.
Next week for. I guess you just have to tune in to find out. We'll be back next week. We're the Mouth of Michiganders with
Bang Dang.